he's a criminal, and he's crazy, and he's stupid. And crazy and stupid are two different things.
When you say crazy, what do you base
Okay,
that on?
Have you ever found yourself in a heated conversation and you just know with a passion you're right and they're wrong, and yet they just won't listen to you? Or have you ever found yourself holding back your true views out of fear that you might lose a relationship? I have the exact framework for how guys like Joe Rogan are able to navigate these crucial conversations, be truly influential, and loved by all. Navigating crucial conversations can be broken down into a simple acronym that can be used as a framework for any tough conversation that you might find yourself in. STATE. S. Share your facts. T. Tell your story. A. Ask for others' paths. T. Talk tentatively. And E. Encourage testing. The first three describe what to do, and the last two tell you how to do it. Now, before we break this down, it's imperative you understand what leads into these conversations. What could be easier than talking? We know thousands of words and generally weave them into conversations that suit our needs. However, when the stakes rise and our emotions kick in, that's when we open our mouths and don't do so well. In fact, the more important the conversation, the less likely we are on our best behavior and advocate or express our views quite poorly. Now let's take a look how a master of conversation, Joe Rogan, uses his confidence, humility, and skill to not only navigate these crucial conversations, but be influential and loved as well.
He lies a lot, and he's probably...
Well, certainly not more than Trump.
Oh,
Oh, please. Come
well,
on, man.
listen, I think they both lie. I mean, I don't like
but-
that more than this guy. Because I want to just, if you want to talk about Trump, we can talk about Trump. But if you just talk about Biden, I don't think comparing him to Trump does anybody any good. You just look at the Burisma situation.
Does because they're running against each other.
Yeah, okay.
So it's kind of necessary.
It could when, if you want to talk about in terms of an election, but you talk about in terms of the guy who's in office right now, like, why don't I like him? Well, one of the things that I don't like has nothing to do with any of his choices, is that he's mentally compromised. I think there's something wrong, and I think it's clear.
As if the other guy isn't.
Well, okay.
Okay, notice how Joe Rogan starts this off not by going out and making emotional claims or insulting Bill in any way. He starts by stating the facts, okay? We all know Joe Biden has a little bit of a mental he's been mentally compromised. He's getting old, he's getting up there. That is a fact. He starts with the facts, and then he's going to tell his story. He's going to share his idea of what is going on within this presidential debate, or I don't know, I guess election process. Which one would you prefer? He's going to tell why he prefers one over the other without basically saying that his way is the right way and Bill's way is the wrong way. So that's how we start out. We share our facts. We share facts about what it actually is that we're talking about first, so we can set the framework for the conversation, so we can be in agreement about what it is we're talking about.
He speaks much clearer. He might be crazy. He might be a
He is
sociopath.
crazy. He's
Okay,
crazy and stupid.
say all those things, but it's
Notice how Bill he's trying to get under Joe Rogan's skin a little bit. He's calling Donald Trump crazy, whatever. You know, any person that's defending Donald Trump would probably get under your skin just a little bit. But you see how Joe Rogan says, okay, maybe he is, maybe he isn't. That is essentially making the conversation open so that they can share a pool of meaning. They can share their ideas together and it can be safe. Even though Bill's not really going up about it the right way and it's a bad faith on his end, Joe Rogan allows him to express his opinions while still trying to stay within a frame of reference and not using emotional tactics or games. Okay.
still doesn't take away from the fact that there's something wrong with Biden. Like, he makes up words, he stumbles through things. It seems like he doesn't know where he is half the time. He's very, very old. That's my problem with him.
Okay. Well, again.
And there you go again. See how he reiterates. He talks tentatively, though. Okay? He's not making outlandish claims. He's not stating everything as if he's the only one that can be right in this conversation, but he's sharing that's his problem with it. That's what he sees based on the facts, and that's his story, and that's what he's going to tell. But he opens it up. He allows Bill to share his point of view and allows him to speak openly where there's safety. He's not going to just go. Bill knows that Joe's not just going to go and insult him because he's got an opinion that doesn't agree with Joe Rogan. And that is what makes a conversation interesting. That is what allows you guys to have interesting conversations without losing relationships and people walking out, and then it raises the emotions, and then cuss words are said, and it could even get physical.
We're living in a world where perfect is not on the menu. These are the choices we're going to have. This is going to be who's running next time. You're going to have a doddering old man.
Do you definitely think that Biden's going to make it to the 2024 elections? Because I'm not convinced.
Well, who knows? Yeah, he might not, and some might not Trump.
Right. Both of them could die at any minute now.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're like 70, whatever years old, 78 years old.
One is 77, one is 80.
Yeah, that's the end of the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're on E.
I mean,
right? I mean, you might make it to town, but you might die on the side of the road. You're
There's
on
also blue zones where people...
Notice how Joe Rogan isn't trying to, just because they have differing opinions, Joe Rogan is still trying to find a middle ground. He found something that they can agree upon. That is oftentimes where people, they fall out of line with a conversation and it goes left and they don't even realize what happened is they're being petty, they're playing games, they're playing silence games, or they're playing violence games. Instead of trying to find things you can agree on and build upon, you decide, this is my stance and I will not agree. Since we disagree on everything. But they clearly agree on something, and it's true. They're both old, they both could die, right? So he builds on that with Bill to build some rapport so that they can be finding a little bit of a mutual purpose in what their conversation might be. There you go.
To 100.
They don't look like those guys.
No, they look better.
Yeah, they're thin and active.
Biden's thin.
That's true.
Trump is not.
But he's thin, like skeletal thin.
Yeah.
Like he's thin, like frail. Like where he looks like he's just going to fall down a lot.
I'll give you this point. Trump looks a lot and sounds a lot more hearty and robust and healthy. That's true.
Notice how Bill's tone has changed a little bit. Since they found something they can agree upon, Joe, first of all, was able to kind of say, Joe Biden's a little bit frail. He's looking a little bit bad. You see how Joe Rogan he's not conceding his whole argument, his whole side of the story. He's staying firm in what he's saying. He's not apologizing for what he has to say. But now that they've built some rapport, they've agreed upon some things, because Joe Rogan has used the state path, he's used his skills of confidence and humility, now he's able to kind of openly conversate, and Bill has now changed. He was a little bit defensive in the beginning, but now he's like, okay, I'll give this to you. I'll admit Trump's a little more hardy. Okay, so now they're both coming together in the pool of meaning and sharing ideas, and it's building a productive conversation.
He's a city roach. He eat the worst things he eats, the stronger he gets. You cannot kill him. No, I agree.
He's also the only guy that didn't noticeably age the moment he got into the White House.
No, we did. We aged when he was in office. He was fine. You're right. He didn't look like he aged. He always looks the same. But he's a criminal, and he's crazy, and he's stupid. And crazy and stupid are two different things.
When you say crazy, what do you base
Okay,
that on?
let me give you an example. Stupid is...
You see how Joe Rogan asks a question. He wants Bill to share further into the pool of meaning. Instead of being like, oh, Trump's not crazy, Trump's not stupid. He says, what do you mean by that? I want you to share more. I'm interested. And he's genuine about it. And that's how you know that that's how Bill knows that he can continue to share openly and feel safe in the conversation, because Joe Rogan's making him feel safe. You hear it in his tone. You hear that he's actually genuinely curious. He wants to hear what he has to say. This is how you keep a conversation going without emotions flaring, without a ton of problems going awry. You keep your emotions in check. Maybe Joe didn't like what he had to say, but he says, okay, well, let's hear what you have to say about it. I want to hear your opinion, all right? And that makes it open for Bill to be able to share his opinion and also be like, all right, I'll share my opinion and you'll have your chance to share yours. If this is a person that's worth having a conversation with, maybe there are times where, someone, they're just going to try to stonewall and they're just going to play the silence and violence games even when you're doing this. And you can continue to try your best to have a good conversation. But typically, if you're able to build upon the pool of meaning and keep the conversation safe, using your skills, your confidence, your humility, and using the state path, good things happen.
Like Frederick Douglass is alive, or the stealth bomber is literally invisible.
Right.
or nobody knew health care was hard to solve. That's just stupid. He's very stupid. Crazy is like, it's important that the crowd at my inauguration was the biggest ever. And I'm going to make an issue of this for the first 2 weeks of my presidency, despite photographic evidence to the contrary. Or I'm going to steal these documents that I don't even know what they are, and I don't care, and I'm going to put them next to the toilet at Mar-a-Lago, and then I'm going to fight you to take them back, or not conceding the election. Those things are crazy. Or thinking I can somehow charm Kim Jong-un in Korea, although that might be stupid. Sometimes it crosses the line between both. But he's both stupid and crazy, and he's a criminal. You know, he's not being charged in these trials because he's a liar. They purposely didn't do that. Apparently it's okay, it's not illegal to lie to the American people. And of course he did lie and continues to lie. He still hasn't conceded the election, which he plainly lost. He's charged with actual crimes. Criminal intent to obscure, I forget what the actual name of the law is, but criminal intent to basically steal the election or to coerce people in the states from, I forget what it is. And then there's one forgery, which has to do with the electors scheme, criminal intent for.
What is the forgery?
That's the slate of electors he was putting forward, the fake slate of electors. And then there was the one.
Here it is. We can read it. 3 counts of solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer. So he's trying to get someone to violate their oath. 2 counts of conspiracy to commit forgery in the first degree. 2 counts of conspiracy to commit false statements and writing. 2 counts of false statements and writings. Violation of a Georgia RICO Act. Conspiracy to commit impersonating a public officer. Wonder what that is. Conspiracy to commit filing false documents and filing false documents. Then this is all based on the election results.
Well, there's also felony solicitation of violation of oath. Felony solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer. That was when he was talking to Ratzenberger. That's the I need you to find me 11,000 votes. There's also one. I mean, there's two cases about trying to steal the election. One, the national case that Jack Smith is prosecuting, and then there's the one in Georgia. Now, they cross paths in a lot. But basically, I mean, yes, he tried every possible way to steal this election. He tried to do it through the courts. He tried to do it through state legislatures. He tried to do it through intimidating Mike Pence. He tried to do it through the Justice Department. They talked about seizing voting machines. They talked about using the army. I mean, you can't really believe that this guy is not worse than Joe Biden. I mean, I agree. Biden is not a great president. And the Hunter Biden stuff is a stinky a stinky scandal that stinks to the high heavens. If you think that in any way compares to what Trump tried to do, you just cannot tell unlike things apart.
And you're saying this just based on what happened after the election? Just that stuff?
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the criminal part, yes.
Have you ever tried to steel man his position? Like, do you think he really believes they stole the election, or do you think he's bullshitting?
Who gives a
All right. So as you can see, Joe really let that guy go. He let Bill just keep going and going and going, and maybe those things are true and maybe they weren't. That didn't really matter to him. He was just going to let Bill say what he has to say, get his piece out. And then you notice they pull up the facts on the computer. They pull up everything that he's saying. And then at the end he asks the question. He's still trying to get all the meaning of what Bill means about this conversation all out there, all ready to go, so that in the end Joe can, again, go through his facts, tell his side of the story, and talk tentatively about it. That's how you keep the conversation going. That's how you keep it flowing. That's how you keep it safe. And then he encourages testing. Okay, so he used the state path, even though this is something that Joe naturally does. It's not like he's probably ever read the book or ever done any kind of stuff like this. Maybe he's practiced and, I mean, over time, he's been on how many podcasts? Of course, he's able to have good conversations. These kinds of things are just natural for him. But we can learn from his conversation technique because he's able to have conversations and good relationships with people from the left, from the right, from all sorts of different opinions, and they all love Joe Rogan because he's a good guy and he's able to have these kinds of crucial conversations where emotions might get high on the other side, but he always stays calm in the conversation. And he's able to bring it back to the actual story, to the actual conversation, and not about the emotions, not about games, not about silence or violence or any of these things. If he did that, he'd be a bad podcast host. We know this. Okay, so there is our Joe Rogan example. But let's look deeper into our STATE acronym. S, share your facts. Facts are the least controversial. Facts are the most persuasive. Facts form the foundation of belief. Start with your observations, not your stories. When we start with offensive conclusions, we encourage others to play the victim and create villain stories about us. T, tell your story. Why share your story in the first place? Because the facts alone are rarely worth mentioning. It's facts plus conclusion that call for a face-to-face discussion. It takes confidence, but don't pile it on when the story is told. Look for safety problems and use contrasting. Be careful not to apologize for your views, though. A, ask for others' paths. Once you shared your point of view, invite others to do the same. Be willing to abandon or reshape your story as more information pours into the pool of meaning. T, talk tentatively. To talk tentatively, it's a funny word, we simply tell our story instead of disguising it as fact. Soften the message to add meaning to the pool, not force it down others' throats. This helps reduce defensiveness. The more forceful we are, the less persuasive we are. Tentative, not wimpy. Don't make it seem like it's not important. Use language that says you're sharing an opinion, not saying you're a nervous wreck. E, encourage testing. Invite opposing views and really mean it. Make others feel truly comfortable to share opposing views. Play the devil's advocate if nobody will participate. You now have a framework you can pull from whenever you find yourself in a difficult, dangerous, crucial conversation, and you state your path. Remember, share your facts. Start with the least controversial, most persuasive elements from your path to action. Tell your story. Explain what you're beginning to conclude. Ask for others' paths. Encourage others to share both their facts and stories. Talk tentatively. Share your story as a story. Don't disguise it as a fact. Encourage testing. Make it safe for others to express differing or even opposing views. So, what do you guys think? What are your opinions on this? Do you see how Joe Rogan used the STATE path, even though he might not know of the STATE path? Can you see how he was able to navigate a crucial conversation and maintain the pool of meaning, maintain a good dialogue with Bill, who had a differing opinion than him? What do you guys think? I want to know in the comments if he was able to do that. Here's a challenge. Try to use this in your real life. Maybe you won't work the first time or the second time, but hey, if you keep practicing stuff like this, you'll be a master at conversation eventually. I will continue to keep practicing these kinds of things. I challenge you to do the same. If you like this video, like and subscribe. Boom!